Bonnie, you can. Hi, everyone. You're welcome to today's very loaded and interesting edition of our coffee chatter here on We Table It. It's an absolute pleasure to be anchoring today's coffee chatter, and we want to welcome you formally to today's session. Just like we do it every weekend, we give you 1 hour of of our time, and take 1 hour of your time. And you know what? If it gets extra juicy, we just may go past the 1 hour mark. I want to welcome you to share this current broadcast to your followers, and this would enable them to get the benefits of today's discussions. With me today are two lovely guests, and I'll be introducing them in a bit. Um, but before I do that, I would want to say that this is an opportunity for you to follow us and to like our page across social media platforms. If you haven't done that, you may go ahead and like us and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and LinkedIn. We are there just for you. Coming up into this program, we've got loads of videos and loads of conversations that we've had in the past. You may want to check our social media platforms to get yourself acquainted with these different talks you've had, ranging from talks on internet addiction, finding a job, misuse of influence and power, culture shock, that very explosive one, motherhood, autism, nurturing your business, loneliness. I mean, there's just loads and loads of content for you to view across our social media platforms. So you may want to take these opportunities to go take a look at them, bookmark them, save them wherever you want, and then you benefit from them going forward. Yeah, so I'm not here alone today. Aside myself and my host, I've got some lovely personalities, and I'd like to take the next few minutes to welcome them to this platform. I'd like to start with the lady here. This is Nurse Lois Obamina, and Lois is someone I would say that has a lot of passion for doing what she does, and that is in the nursing profession. Uh, Lois, Lois, as an experienced nurse, has got a bit of information or two that I believe will be beneficial in our discussion today. So when we get the conversation going, you will get a lot of insights from Lois regarding um, uh, her insights on the topic of today. So thank you very much, Lois, for coming
Thank you
to
for
today's
having me.
platform. We also got Dr. Igharo joining us on We Table It today. From his busy schedule, we're glad that he's joining us. Dr. Igharo is someone that dons many hats. All right. So he is an accomplished global health professional and a social impact strategist who's got lots of experience working with different governments, international developmental organizations, and communities that advance health and social outcomes. He is also into reproductive health, and as a reproductive and population health expert, he has led a number of interventions ranging from design, implementation, and evaluation of family planning programs. And he has done this in Africa and in Asia. And you know what? He not only is into these running in Africa and Asia, he was named in 2019 as amongst the global top 120 professionals in population and reproductive health. Currently, Dr. Igharo is a senior programs officer at the Johns Hopkins Bloomberg School of Public Health, and he also partners in an individual effort that is named Social Impact Group. Permit me at this junction to welcome into the stage Dr. Igharo. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much. Happy to be
Yeah,
here.
most welcome. Glad to have you. Glad to have you here. And I would like to add, there was something that I skipped from, Nurse Lois. I would like to say she's done a lot in public health, and she has experience safeguarding and promoting community well-being with a lot of passion. Delved into healthy societies. She's committed to translating complex health issues into actionable steps for individual and communities. So you're welcome once again, Nurse
Thank you for
Lois.
having me.
Yeah, so I'd like to
Pleasure.
say, viewers, today we will be discussing on family planning and contraceptives. Basically, we're here to unmask the complexities surrounding these two terms. And might I also add that this particular broadcast is for adults only, and the reason is that we're going to be discussing some things that are more suitable to adult audience. So that's the disclaimer there. And you also have opportunities to ask questions. If you've got any question, you can come directly into this broadcast link, or you can drop it in the comment section and we'll attend to it from whatever platform you're joining us. Okay, so I'll dive right into the core of today's broadcast by first asking Nurse Lois, can you tell us a bit about yourself that perhaps I haven't said on the lighter note?
Okay. Um, Once again, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure being here. If there's any other thing that being what's needed to know, it's that I'm actually one person ambassador too. Aside health um aside the health part, I'm into interior designs. Just something I do along the side, and um currently undergoing a leadership program just for personal and self development. And I'm a serial volunteer here and there. So yeah, that's just a little tidbits about myself.
All right, great, great, great. That's good. Thank you so much. I guess we would get to learn more about you going forward into this conversation. Dr. Igharo, the man with many hats. Can you tell us a bit about yourself that perhaps I haven't said, on the lighter note? Your favorite food, what what you do in the pastime, that is, if you ever have such going in your life. Anyway, just about anything.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Osaro, for inviting me to this platform. It's such a delight to always talk about the issues of sexual health and wellness. So, in terms of what I do outside of what you already talked about, I don't think there's any more to really add, other than to say that apart from work, I love music and the arts. I would say I'm an amateur artist,
Wow.
and it's something that I've always loved to do. And also use it to relax. And very recently, I started learning to play some musical instruments. I'm sure you wonder at this age, but I really find a
Never
lot
to
of
me.
I really find a lot of relaxation, and I draw a lot of mental health support from doing that.
All
But
right.
beyond that, I'm also privileged to be a family life coach, where I work with young couples that are seeking to go into long-term relationships and just helping them to prepare for it. And I do that with my lovely wife.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Good. What's your favorite food?
Well, lately I really don't have
My first
favorites,
pizza
but
question.
if it was maybe if it was a few years ago, I'm an African to the core. I love my pounded yam and my goosey. But these days, whatever
Mm.
comes comes.
Wow.
Yeah.
Nurse Lois, you wanna tell us what's your favorite food?
I don't have a favorite food, shockingly. Well, I I love plantains. Anything plantain. Just bring it.
Oh, oh, okay, okay, okay. Oh,
Yeah.
that's good. That's good. That was on a lighter note. All right. Don't ask me mine, okay? Because I'm the one asking the questions today. It's so good to be on this table. All right. Now, I'd like to start with Nurse Lois. Okay. And I want to dive right into the subject matter of contraceptives. And but before I do that, I would like to find out from you, in a summary, what is family planning?
Okay, when we're talking family planning has to do with a method of preventing pregnancy that is being adopted by individuals voluntarily, of course, and on the basis of knowledge, attitude, and their decisions, couples, individuals, yeah, in the sense that to be able to manage their life more, to be able to make plans ahead, not just for having a unplanned pregnancy and whatnot. So overall, family planning has to do with something that involves um, pregnancy prevention, that's
All right.
unplanned in quotes, unplanned pregnancy, and it's knowledge based, attitude related, and then the decision has to be voluntarily taken by the individual, not enforced.
All right. Okay. That's good. I would like to hear from Dr. Igaro. What do you think, in your own opinion, is family planning?
Okay, so just to put it simply, family planning is, individuals being able to determine when they want to have children and how many children they want to have, so that they can have control over their lives. I usually say when I have the opportunity to that family planning is not just about preventing pregnancy, but it's also about gaining control, because there's also the concept of conception. While there's contraception, there's also conception,
All
and
right.
all of that forms what family planning is about. So when
Conception.
individuals, families decide that how they want to have children, when, what number, and how they want to space them, that entire principle is what family planning is built on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to remind our viewers that you can join us on this stream on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Instagram. You can join us live, so please feel free to join us on whatever platform. And you can keep your questions coming up or your comments. If you also want to jump into the live stream to give a comment or contribute to this discussion, you can let us know and we'll send you a link to join us on the live stream. I would also add that if you're a medical doctor out there, we would also like to hear your opinion. That is part of the missing puzzle we have here that I couldn't fit quickly before we started this, broadcast. But we'd like to hear from you so that we can, balance perspective going into this conversation. That we know what family planning is here. I'd like to ask, uh, and this can be anybody. You can just jump in, however you feel you want. What is contraceptives? Now, the title is Unmasking the Complexities. So I'd like you to say what you think contraceptive is, and then what kind of misconception going forward as health experts or professionals are out there regarding contraceptives.
Okay, maybe I should go first.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so the term contraceptives refer to a range of innovations, whether they come in the form of technological devices or medications or drugs that help in managing um, conception, right? So there are a range of of course, all contraceptives are termed medications, whether they are drugs or devices. But the sole purpose of contraceptives is to enable the individual to prevent pregnancy. Yeah, so that's just a simple term for contraceptives.
All right, so if I get you correctly, the key word there is prevention. I mean,
Yeah.
contraceptive is anchored on prevention. Okay,
Absolutely.
I would like to take you up on this, but first I want to hear from Nurse Lois. Can you hear
Okay.
me? Yeah. All
When
right.
we're talking about contraceptives, yeah, I can hear you. When we're talking about contraceptives, is it involves devices in um, behaviors and procedures. When I said behavior, because we have traditional methods that don't involve using injectables and barrier methods and all of those stuff. So there are behaviors, devices, and procedures that we use in preventing pregnancy and helping people gain control over their sexual life and the effects
All
afterwards.
right.
Yeah.
So you mean perhaps empower people to take control of their sexual lives?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we've got prevention on the one hand and empowerment on the other hand. Great. Now let's demystify. Let's break down this concept a little bit more. Okay. Let's demystify it. I mean, I know about contraceptive and I know about birth control, but I'm not so sure, speaking the minds of an audience now, what the difference is, or if it's just semantics at play. So, do we have a difference between a birth control and contraceptive? Dr. Igharo, you want to take
Not
that up?
really. All right, all right.
After Lois, yeah.
Okay, okay, all right. You can go ahead, Lois.
But all right, so not really. When we're talking about birth control is more like the process. What you are doing is birth control. Why contraceptive is what you are using to bring about the birth control. So
When you
that's
said
just
when you
the
said the
whole.
process, in specific and clear terms, because my mind
In
is just going
specific
all
and
over the
clear
place.
terms, family planning. Family planning.
You're talking about the planning itself. So, birth control leads to
Exactly.
contraceptives, is it?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Okay. Let's put a pause there and get to Dr. Igharo.
Yeah, so I really like the perspective that Lois brought when she was defining contraceptives. You know, she talked about devices, drugs, and also behaviors. And I think that's often a part that is that's often neglected. So I would say that whether you're talking about contraceptives, you're talking about birth control, these are terms that are used interchangeably.
All right.
In fact, the term has evolved over the years, especially given different context.
All right.
I'm sure maybe during the course of this discussion, we'll talk about some social-cultural contexts that are sort of shaped how the whole concept of family planning has been presented. So I would say whether you're talking about birth control um, or family planning, it's pretty much the same thing. You know, the contraceptives are the tools or the devices or the drugs that enable you
Yeah.
to carry out birth control. So the
All
birth,
right.
just like Lloyd
Birth
said,
control.
birth control is the entire process, is
All
the
right.
family planning itself, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but there's always a behavior perspective. There's a social perspective to family planning that it's beyond just the drugs or the devices, and that also comes from apart from natural methods. There are other forms of
Yeah, yeah.
intervention.
And this is where we're getting to now. Okay, Dr.
Yeah,
Igharo. Yeah, the interventions. So
yeah.
I would like us to, in clear,
Interesting.
specific terms, all right? And that is starting from any of you. You can do it interchangeably. Give I mean, we're talking to a lot of adults out there who might be interested in trying out one birth control or the other. Let me give you a background to this. I did have a situation where I laughed my hearts out, but at the same time I was sober. All right, I laughed because the person put the particular situation or condition in a funny way. And what was it? The person wrote how the I mean, her and her partner, all right, tried out a particular birth control method and were so good at the phase of enjoyment that they forgot that it wasn't something that was working for them. And so the result is what you and I know. And I say, hey, why don't we do put something out there that better educate people on the choices they have and the nuances associated with these choices so that they can make a better, a more informed decision with their spouse. So I'd like us here, with our experience, to educate us on the type of birth control methods and the type of contraceptives that are out there available for us to use um, to achieve whatever purpose we want to achieve. I would like to start with Dr. Igharo.
Okay, so I would defer to maybe talking more about the method to Lois, but I want to talk about the birth control itself.
All right,
So I think it's really important to appreciate that everything that has to do with birth control or family planning or even the choice of contraceptive has two dimensions, right? There is the social dimension and there is the medical dimension. The social dimension is related to addressing some of the misconceptions, the myths, and some of the fears and some of the mask. Right, we are here to unmask the complexities.
that's
So some of
correct.
the mask, around the entire family planning conversation. So that's dealing with that social part is a critical component of every decision regarding family planning or birth control. So
Can you pause there?
yeah, sure.
I would like you to pause before you go ahead, and sorry for stopping you there, but there is a dimension that I want us to pay a little bit of attention to, and that is, have you heard, pretty sure you have, of any myth or misconception about birth control or family planning or the use of contraceptive that you would like to share with us?
Yeah, there are a ton of them. I mean, if we want to,
Yeah,
let's
there
if
are
we want
lots
to
of
come from a cultural perspective,
there are many.
there are lots of myths and misconceptions related to culture.
Yeah.
There are misconceptions that if you put in any device, especially if you're looking at the ones that you insert, like the IUDs and all of that, which we'll talk about much later. Some people say it travels
Yeah.
up, goes to the brain, that when you say woman run mad, I mean, there are crazy myths there. That when you say
Yeah,
woman run mad, it must have been
True.
something that she
True.
put in that traveled up to her brain. I mean, you hear
put in
that they'll be
where?
like, of course, IUDs, intrauterine devices. Intrauterine device is a part of contraceptives. Is one type of contraceptives that is inserted into the uterine space, right? That's why it's called the intrauterine devices. So it is put in there and it releases chemicals or hormones that prevent pregnancy.
All
And
right,
it's a safe, inert devices that can be removed anytime.
all
But
right.
there are misconceptions
Okay,
that,
before we go ahead, all right,
yeah,
sorry. Before we go ahead, I want to be an advocate for those who are not too technical in this space. So when we hear things like uterine, I mean, you don't want people picking up their
okay,
dictionaries, right?
womb. Everybody knows womb, right?
So what do you put in the womb?
Okay, so maybe we should be a bit systematic in this conversation. So if you really allow me, maybe I should backtrack a bit
Go ahead.
and talk about so I was trying to talk about the issue of myths, culture, and all of those things, but I'll hold on that. Let me come to the medical. So over after many years of research over the
Yeah.
years, right, a lot of technology, medical innovations have emerged to
All right.
show that certain products, whether they are drugs that you can swallow like pills,
All right.
or little devices like pins that you can insert. For some women, you can put it under the skin. I don't want to use the medical term, but you can put it nicely under the skin and it can be there for many years releasing certain chemicals, and those chemicals can actually send trigger to the body to prevent pregnancy from happening, right? Or even devices that can be um, is put into the womb cavity, as it were. Not necessarily the womb cavity. I'm trying to look for the right word, but the space, the what's the word now? The intrauterine
Where the baby?
Yeah, where the
Yes.
baby is supposed to. So basically, that is where the action happens, right? That's where fertilization, sperm and egg, they go there and they implant themselves to the wall of the womb, right? And they start growing into a baby. So these devices go there. You can actually insert a device, and those devices release certain safe chemicals that ensure that implantation, even if fertilization happens, implantation doesn't happen on the wall of the womb,
Let's pause it there.
right? Yeah, let me
Okay.
just land quickly so that I don't lose track, right?
All right.
So there are different technologies that a lot of innovation, research, and development has gone into creating these technologies, and they have
Right.
been tested through several stages to be sure that they are safe for humans, and they are now available in the market. Right, but it's not just about you going to the shop and saying, I want this, I want that, I want that. There is a process to determining which is best for you, and I'm sure we'll talk about that later. But before that process of choice,
Yeah.
or before that process of determining that this is a particular method, there are certain issues that if you don't address them, even if you decide to take a method, the people will not feel comfortable in leaving it, or they will have fears and concerns about how those things are affect their body, and that's where the myths and misconceptions come. Imagine that somebody has finally decided to adopt one of the contraceptives, and they start adding weight, and they say, "Oh, it is this method that you took that is making you add weight." It may be relatable, but it might really not be relatable. Or you see somebody and say, "Oh, it's because I saw this woman going into this facility to take contraceptive. That's why she's having mental health issues." So those are myths that that actually exist out there, and also there are also religious issues. In our religion, we don't, So there's a lot of. So let me. I promised I was going to pause and not talk
Yeah,
about
you
the.
got to pause here.
Let
Okay.
me pause now.
Yeah, I will bring you back. I will bring you back here, but I'm trying to unmask, the unmaskable,
Yeah.
and I call it unmaskable because I still believe that there are some of these things we should dissect, cut it, and go deeper so that we can have more informed viewers. All right, I'll come right there. Thank you very much for exposing some of these things, Dr. Igaro, and I'm going to take you up on some of them. But I'd like to ask Nurse Lois, okay? And you're someone who has been in the field and you're still in the field doing God's work. All right. So
As
I would
usual.
like to ask you, all right, to give us some examples. No, no, before you give some examples, I'd like to ask you to tell us about some of the myths that are common out there in our societies about birth control
Okay. Particularly, I've stayed in the north and then south.
in the
So
northern part of Nigeria. All right, so we
yes.
have viewers joining us globally, so you may want to be more specific about the location you're talking about.
Okay, northern
And
part
if
of
you're somehow
Nigeria.
out there, sorry, this goes out to a viewer. Sorry, Lois. If you're joining us and you've got any question, please you can drop the question in whatever platform you're joining us in, and we will pass this across to our guest today, and I'll see to it that they try to give you convincing answers. And if you want something more private, you can also send us a private message, and we'll get right back to you. Okay, Lois, please go ahead.
Okay. So some of the myths I've heard concerning family planning. Can you hear me, please?
Absolutely,
Right.
you're loud and
So some
clear.
some of the myths I've heard about family planning is that family planning makes you sterile, like sterility. Then there's the one of where family planning can even make a woman promiscuous. I've had that. Then
What's the rationale behind that? Before you go ahead.
the rationale is that when women know that there are ways they can prevent pregnancies, so they get tends to run wild and gets to do things outside of marriage and then keep it without their husband knowing.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. So and then there's another one where I can okay, yeah. Where they believe that it's God that gives children, so why will you want to interfere with what God does? So it's God that gives you children, and when God gives you children, He will provide for on how you are going to take care of them. So no need to worry, just keep birthing them, and God will provide. So why do family planning? And then there is another one where it is believed that family planning makes you obese. There's
Obese.
a caveat to it. So we'll talk about it later on the types of contraceptives and all of that.
All right, so these
So
are the
yeah.
common myths out there. And Dr. Agoro has been in the social space for long, so I'm going to take you up on some of these things. But these are waiting myths that I would like to ask, are these predominant or they are isolated, occurrences? You've heard about them in isolated, locations, or they are predominant amongst a lot of people? And that is going to Lois. I mean, these myths that you've just
Um,
exposed.
okay, it's predominant here in Nigeria. I can speak for myself here in Nigeria because I mean this is where I've practiced, and specifically in the northern part of Nigeria, it is. It is.
All right. And in your opinion, what has been the fallout of some of these myths? What has it led to?
It has reduced the uptake of family planning as a means to birth control, and then giving you the chance to plan family as you
All right.
would. So
All right.
there has been issues of unwanted pregnancies, maternal mortalities on the rise because unsafe abortion is there when
All
you
right.
don't get to get access to family planning. So yeah, that's some of it.
All right. And just to put this in context, we're not just referring to married couples alone, because we do know that whatever gives rise to having children or getting someone pregnant, that is having sex, is
Mm.
something that is available to everybody. And it is the choices people make that gives the results that we see. So
So,
usually even unmarried people are also engaging in this, and so our conversation today will be passing on new knowledge or strengthening the knowledge already there for varied category of people. Okay, thank you very much for this meet. Some of them were really interesting to hear of, and I wish, I wish we could go further on that. But let's get into some other things. Will you, in clear terms, um, tell us about the um, contraceptives or birth control methods that are out there? I do know we have talked about the differences between the two. Contraceptives is one of the birth control methods, but I'm using
same
it
things that
interchangeably for, sometimes for people to get a clearer understanding of what we're discussing. But we can go ahead and use the broader term birth control. So I'd like to ask you, what are the common, and why I use the word common is because you've been out there in the field, as well as Dr. Garo has been in that space for a long time. uh, you know and I would like to know from your experience, what are the common birth control methods that are out there amongst those that are actually using it?
okay, the common contraceptive we have implants, the one you put under your skin, as
how, do,
Dr. Gara
how
said.
does that, yeah, how does that work?
Okay, the way it works is that it stays there from 5 years, 10 years, depending on what implants you picked. There are two. There are two.
How do
So,
you put it on your skin?
okay, it's a healthcare provider that does it. You don't just put it. It's kind of invasive. It's an invasive procedure. Not like
In what
something you
sense?
just. Okay, there is something like a shotgun
All right.
that yes, that when it's they like shoot it into your skin,
All right.
so it gets to stay there. Mostly the upper arm. So yeah, and then you are being given some health education on how to go about it so that it doesn't get dislodged. There are cases where it gets dislodged and all of those stuff. So what it does is that it releases hormones from time to time.
All right.
Yeah. So when it releases hormones from time to time, it helps with family planning. Then we have the intrauterine device. There's a device that they insert into the womb. Let me not say uterus here. That they insert into the womb. So
All
what
right.
is can you hear me please?
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Correct. So it prevents implantation to take place. That's what intrauterine devices does. Then we have injectables. just like the name implies. You get them by they are injected into the body. So that's one of them. We're called Depo Provera.
Okay. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I believe our viewers
Okay.
can hear you too.
All right. So the injectables, one of them is the Depo. So and we have steroids too. Then the depot is the one that is mostly associated with people, the hormonals, and this was all these ones they contain hormones, so they get to release hormones that for that period of time help you with family planning. So people have this misconception about family planning in general, making you bloat, getting you obese, and all of those, right? So the Depo-Provera is one of those drugs that can make you obese. So all of these things are what they get to give you health talk so that you can know the one to pick based on your health history, your social history, and whatnot. So going further, we have the oral contraceptive pills. And then under the oral, we have emergency contraceptive pills,
All right.
which is the Postino 1, Postino 2.
All right.
And then we have the combined oral contraceptive pills. This one has two hormones. I don't know. Okay, progestin and estrogen. So what it does is still helps with family planning. I don't want to go into details because I mean I'll get to use medical terms, but I just want to keep it simple. So the progestin, the combined oral contraceptive
All
pills,
right.
then the emergency contraceptive pills. It's called emergency contraceptive pills for a reason. So sometimes people get to use it as the oral contraceptive pills. And then we have the progestin only pills. So we have the combined under oral contraceptive pills, we have the combined, we have progestin only, and then we have the emergency. Now the thing with the emergency oral contraceptive pills is that you don't it does not work effectively if ovulation has already taken place. So it does not work effectively if ovulation has already taken place. So that's another problem. People get to say family planning does not work. It's a lie. All of this stuff. So when ovulation has taken place and um, a lady gets to take the emergency contraceptive pills, there's a very little chance that it's even going to work because ovulation has taken place and sexual intercourse has happened, and we know how these things work. So, but if it should be taken, the best way it should be taken is prior to ovulation. That's where the person have to understand the menstrual cycle, their calendar, and all of that stuff. So down to barrier methods, we have the popular one we know, condoms and diaphragms. So under condoms, we have female and male condoms,
All right.
and then we have diaphragms too.
Okay.
Then we have vagina rings, and then the surgical aspect, which involves tubal ligation and vasectomy, and yeah, those are the common ones we have. This part.
Wow. That has been a loaded one. Thank you so much, Nurse Lois. I mean, really loaded. You've taken us through, a complete lesson on the types of birth control out there for us, which is a good one. I would, you know what? Before I get back to Dr. Egaro, I would like to ask you, Nurse Lois. You did talk about emergency contraceptive, and you talked about a couple of
Yeah.
them, two of them, and you said some people have the misconception of it not working, but in actual fact, they did apply it after ovulation. That is the females, right?
Yes, yes.
Let us imagine someone gets to that point when ovulation has happened and they need to apply some form of, uh, intervention. And are there options available?
Yes, there are options available.
Can you let us know the options?
Okay, yeah, we have, but they have to be applied before intercourse. That's where the issue is.
No, 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 no. I mean, after ovulation has happened, right? It has to be
Yes,
applied.
So do you
before
mean
intercourse.
so maybe you mean before fertilization? Because ovulation is a natural, is it ovulation that you mean? Yeah.
He's talking about ovulation, like
Okay.
somebody's already ovulating and
Yeah.
then they want to have sex, obviously.
Then you're talking
So
about
at the
before
time,
condoms or postinor. Is that what you mean?
yes, postino comes in when a person has his emergencies, like it does happen, and you'll be like, okay, 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 I need to do something. Or in cases of rape,
Okay, but you know what? Where I'm coming from, I'd like to
okay,
be more specific and clear. And I
mm,
want Dr. Igharo to wade into this so that we have this healthy conversation that brings out the best of information. So ovulation has taken place, and you're saying the person has to apply the intervention before sexual intercourse. What
yes,
of the case if the person has not applied an intervention and sex has happened, sexual
okay,
intercourse, and ovulation is on? Are there any
then
alternatives for
yes, there
birth
are,
control?
yes.
That's exactly where I'm getting to.
All right, all right.
What are the
Then
alternatives?
the alternative we have that would be best decision of choice would be the copper IUCD.
Oh, I mean,
Yes, the copper IUD. So it works by, even if fertilization takes place, the implantation will not occur with the copper IUD.
okay, all right.
Yeah.
This is, but that is preventive, right? I'm talking of an
Sorry?
emergency. Are you saying
Yes,
this
it
can be
falls under,
applied?
it falls under, yes, it falls under emergency. It falls under
All right,
emergency.
okay. So this okay, and you mean that okay, the deed has been done, fertilization hasn't occurred, you can apply the copper quickly.
If the deed has been done, you can still use the copper, but postino 1 and 2 will not be effective if you go for the oral emergency pills.
Well, not at
Copper
all.
has been, as yeah, copper has
Then
been proven to be very, very much effective.
then why is it called an emergency pill if it doesn't work after that?
If there's a caveat to the emergency,
I would like to hear from Dr. Egaro and
Okay.
bring my own thoughts to this. All right, as also an
As,
expert
uh,
in
or as a
pharmaceutical
user,
intervention.
or as a user.
I didn't say that.
Okay, so maybe I should just share my perspective on this. So the emergency pills are supposed to be used for emergencies, just like
Yeah,
it is said. The way the emergency pills are designed is that within a time frame, usually between 48 hours, maximum of 72 hours,
72
if it
hours.
is
Yeah.
used, right, it has the potential of stimulating the bodies to not allow for
fertilize.
fertilization to happen.
Fertilization.
But it has to be within that period, right? So if you use an emergency contraceptive, the popular ones we know is Postinor 2 and or the Postinor. If you use it after 72 hours, the likelihood of getting the preferred outcome is very slim,
Breast
which means
true.
that there is a very slim chance that pregnancy would not happen. Now, the question is if pregnancy happens, is there a family planning to use? No, pregnancy has happened. That's when we now start seeing, in many climes, interestingly, there's a high rate of abortion as a form of
For
family
sure.
planning. It's very strange, right? That abortion is a form of family planning in many climes. And in those areas, that you now have to start dealing with issues of orientation and managing abortion and post-abortion care. But let's not talk about that. But I want to just backtrack a bit about the different types of contraceptives. Thank you so much, Lois, for providing such a rich compendium of different types of contraceptives. But one thing that we need to note is that every decision about the choice of contraceptives must be done, in concert with a provider. There has to be series of tests and assessment of the client that must happen. As a matter of fact, the World Health Organization has developed a set of protocols that must be used to evaluate every client before a decision or a recommendation for the type of choice to be made. And it's called the medical eligibility
Okay.
wheel, right? So that medical eligibility wheel helps to reduce or minimize or map different risk factors with different choices.
Associate.
So if you have someone that has a very high risk of hypertension, or somebody that has an underlying health condition, or somebody that, for whatever physiological or medical reason, might not be able to use certain methods, that screening tool enables the provider to make adequate recommendation. But we also know
Yeah.
that many people make their decision by themselves based on maybe what their friend uses,
Okay.
what they've heard on social media. Right now, social media solves everybody's problem. People's doctors are on social media, people's pharmacists are on social media. So people actually hardly go to proper health providers, but rather they want to go to social media. Like, I'm sure many people are on this platform now and saying, "Oh, somebody said emergency is good. Somebody said IUD is good. Please don't take any of what we say as a medical advice. Always go to a
Advice,
trained
disclaimer.
provider.
Very.
Yes, go to a trained provider to conduct an assessment to be sure that whatever method that is used is what aligns with your medical eligibility." The other thing I also want to talk about is the issue around. I was trying to take notes here. The issue of natural methods. Sometimes we fail to realize that before devices came, or before we started having drugs and all these devices, there's some form of family planning that has been practiced. For example, the
Yeah,
calendar
true.
method has been there, where you have to track calendar to say, oh, is it a safe day? Is it not a safe day? People still
Not
do
to
it
save the.
now, yeah. So
Yeah,
tracking
the
the
beats,
yeah,
circular beats.
cycle beats. There's the cycle beats. Very simple innovation, but also very, very powerful. But the problem is with compliance, right?
Can you
So are you
tell
going
how
to
that
tell?
works? I'm so sorry.
So the cycle beat is a sort of replicates what a calendar will look like, and for the period between when menstruation starts to when ovulation starts to when the risk of fertilization is highest to when the next menstruation comes has been programmed in different types of beads. It's like a hand bead, right? Like a handband.
Yeah,
There are
true.
different colors, different textures that signify different days. And so, based on when menstruation starts, a woman can actually count and say, "Oh, menstruation was 5 days ago, so I'm on day five. Oh, in the next 3 days, I will be within a safe period where I can have intercourse without any form of protection." And it sort of helps in some form of planning because not everybody can go to the calendar or have calendar all the time. And some of the women
Yeah,
don't do it. Some of these cycle beads are very fanciful. You will not even know that they are actually cycle beads. People wear them and you never
yes.
know, right?
Right.
So,
Yeah, true.
and they are also the very popular withdrawal method. Let's not let's also face it. Withdrawal is a
Yeah,
method, but a very ineffective method. So these are very many natural methods. And let's also make it very
the
clear that
exclusive breastfeeding also
yes,
helps
yes,
for some.
the lamb lactation amenorrhea method is a
Amenorrhea, yes.
type of method that is premised on the fact that when a woman just gives birth and she's breastfeeding, the body is God is so wonderful that He designed the body in such a way that when certain hormones are high, others are low. So the hormone that stimulates for production of milk for lactation has a way of suppressing the hormone that is responsible for conception, right, or ovulation. So it is said that during a period of breastfeeding, the risk of pregnancy is very low because the hormone that causes ovulation is suppressed. But it's not entirely guaranteed because we know that people
True.
differ And for some
Yeah.
people, their hormone level is really low. For some people, it might not be so low.
Yes.
Just the way we know that some people are more fertile, in quotes, for the lack of a better word, than others. So we always say that as much as natural methods have been there for a very long time, always seek the advice of a medical professional to determine your body type and determine what method is best for you. The other thing, lastly, that I want to also mention is issue of return to fertility. That's also another major factor that determines the choice.
True.
So, for someone that wants to get pregnant next year, it might not be of good use of using a method that is supposed to cover you for 5 years or for 10
5
years.
years.
For example,
Okay.
the IUDs, the ones that you put in the womb area, the intrauterine devices, which can be hormonal or non-hormonal, like the copper IUD is non-hormonal. The hormonal IUS, which is the one that has hormones embedded within it,
So,
can last as long as 10 years. So if you're going to get pregnant next year, why do you want to use the one for 10 years? As compared to the injectables that can cover for 2 months or 3 months, as the case may be. So
two
for
months, 3 months.
yeah, so I know some people that will say, "Oh, I intend to get pregnant next year, so I would only use the injectable and do it 2 or 3 cycles." So when it's almost 3 months, I come and take another one. When it's almost, I come and take another one. Then I stop. Then I get ready to transition to conception. So this, you people won't just know about this from
This
social
is
media, right? They need
correct.
True.
to consult with a professional to understand what is best for them. So return to conception is a big issue. And a lot of times people don't get the right information and they use all kinds of methods. And when it's now time to return to conception, they struggle,
Sure.
perhaps because they haven't, had the right consultation. So let me stop for now.
Yeah, thank you so much. Watch an expose. Wow, loads of information. Thank you, Dr. Igaro, for such. I know we are. I mean, we could spend 10 hours here and keep going, but I wouldn't want to leave our viewers and our comments hanging. So I like to go through the comments that we have here and keep them coming in whatever platform you're joining us, and we'll attend to them. And if you think you've got something private you want to ask or make a comment in, you can do us a private message, not a problem. We'll get back to you confidentially. Valerie says, yes, the meats are predominant in Kenya too. Wow, I would. That's interesting. East Africa. Is there one or two meats you want to share with us that are predominant in Kenya, Valerie? You let me know. There's another. Bonnie says, how can healthcare providers better communicate the benefits and side effects of various contraceptive methods to patients, ensuring they make informed choices, better informed choices? This is a question. Any of you can, address this question before we go ahead.
Okay, like Dr. Igor has actually said
Oh,
before.
Victor is fine.
Okay, my bad. So the first thing they do is obtain health history, yeah, and then the MEW is done. So the healthcare provider does not pick the family planning method for the patient. The patient, after this series of okay, your health history, different explanation as regards the family planning methods available, then the patients, the clients rather, gets to pick the one that's suitable for them from the available options. And when they do this, they don't use, I've been there, they don't use the medical term, medical jargon we use. They go as far as even using the local languages. They go as far as using the local languages to help these clients understand that what they are getting into and the disadvantages and advantages concerning family planning methods that they will be selecting from. So the most important thing is using client centered, is a client centered approach anyway. So using a language that is best understood by the clients is what make family planning uptake effective. And then asking them questions. So the thing is it's more of a rapport. As I'm talking, I'm educating you. I'm also asking you, okay, what have you had about family planning before now? So you can help the person the, answer questions as regards the meat, as regards all the hearsays that the person have had and why they came to the clinic in the first place. So yeah, that's basically what healthcare providers do. So enable patients make the very most the effective spine planning as regards their own self, and then ensure that they do better. And they also come for clinic check days. Yes, they also come for follow up. So they schedule follow up for them just in case of anything, check up if the implant is still there, if there is anything they are reacting to, and then take appropriate measures. So yeah.
So
Good.
can I just
Please,
add
yeah, please
to
jump
that
in.
real quick? Yeah.
Sure.
So the catchphrase here is informed choice. Every
Yeah.
decision regarding contraceptive choice must be informed and must be without any form of bias. One of the issues that we face in terms of programming around family planning globally is issue of provider bias. So you see that certain providers have their own preferences and they sometimes want to impose those preferences on their clients. And so, what we do when we train providers on delivery of family planning services is that they must put away their personal biases, whether it is bias based on method, clinical bias, or religious bias, or cultural biases. And this is also worse for young people. When young people try to assess family planning, we see a ton
Exactly.
of bias.
True.
They say, oh, as small as you have, you started having sex. Are you not supposed to be in school? That's a form of
Oh
bias,
gosh.
right? So you cannot
Yeah.
you cannot connect with somebody at their level if they feel that you're already um, you already have something against them, or you're not comfortable with even their medical decision. So that's one component that we need to deal with, the issue of bias. Then the other component
Yes.
that we also see that is very prevalent is that sometimes they work backwards. They say this is what is available, especially when you have stock out of most of the methods. I mean, there are a ton of
Mm,
methods, more than 10 methods, and maybe you show up in the facility and it's just two methods. What we do is that we always tell providers, always give the information, always conduct the evaluation, even if the method you have in stock
it's
is not
not
the best
available.
for that client. It is better that you refer the client
Yeah.
or you ask the client to come back than impose a method that's available that is not necessarily what is best for the client. And then when you have issues, it now becomes an issue. It now becomes a problem for us to handle. And finally, we also see a very high, sometimes you see a high rate of reverse contraception. What I mean by reverse contraception is people come in and they take up a method. After 2 weeks, they come back and say, we don't want it. And that method is gone. They have to take it out. Um, what you have done is that you've denied the opportunity of someone having that method because these things are very expensive. The second is that it is not good use of time if, especially if the method is not removed because of medical reasons, but removed because of lack of sufficient information that is not provided to the client at the time. So it is really important. The provider has a responsibility to educate the client on the methods, apply the medical criteria to determine the best choice, and allow the client determine which method that they want, regardless of what is in stock or not.
Wow, that's good. Thank you so much for that response, and I believe that addresses it. We've got some other comments here. Uh, uh, Valerie says, "Thank you for sharing the importance of assessment for contraception methods. Uh, it's a learning that contraceptives do not fit every person, and that's something that our guests today have unilaterally agreed upon, that there is no one size fits all. Okay, so there is what we would commonly refer to as customization, and so best for you to get a customized method that fits you and your partner, and that will help you make better informed choices or choices that do not come with regrets later on. Okay. Yeah, thank you. Going forward, I can see that our time is nearing the 1 hour mark, and I know we've got busy guests, but there are still some questions left unanswered. All right. Oh, yeah. Valerie says one of the myths that is predominant in Kenya is that contraception will make you fat, especially Depo
Jacob.
or the injection.
No.
But is this a myth or is a fact? Let us be clear on this. Is it? Let's demystify this. Is this a myth or medically comes as a fact?
Can I just quickly jump in?
Yeah, please
So
go
let
ahead.
me like all contraceptives are medical products, right? And even if you're taking something as basic as Tylenol or paracetamol, as common as it has
Love study.
side effects, and not everybody will respond to it the same way, right? So for every contraceptive, there's a likelihood that you might experience certain side effect that is unique to you, that may not be widespread. And so that is where proper education of the client by the providers during the time of introducing the method is very, very key.
All right.
So the question of whether contraceptive will make you fat or no is it is possible it can make you fat, but it has to be properly explained. For some people, it is not fat; it is bleeding, spotting. You know,
Yeah.
it's women start. It's as though they are seeing their period and they can panic. You know, is it possible to have that with contraceptive? Yes, it is possible, but should client be properly informed about the likelihood of these things happening? Yes. Should they be informed on what to do when they happen? Yes.
Yeah.
So the issue of fat, even if we don't take contraceptives, we go fat anyways. So yeah.
Not me.
Yeah, Nurse Lois, you want to say something?
Not me. Not me.
Oh, not you. You won't go fat, right?
Yeah.
All right. It's okay. Thank you very much. By the way, is there any economic dimension to this in terms of choices? Yeah, we have, talked about the rhetorics of customizing or tailoring each intervention to every individual because they're unique, right?
Um,
And the ultimate choice lies in the individual seeking this intervention. But is there any role faith or religion and economics has to play? And we're talking about economic dynamics, economic power here has to play in these choices that we make. And if so, what are the um, what are the options we have there? Are there any government interventions that helps to mitigate this economic fallout or religious fallout, or what just do we have out there that you know of?
Should I go?
Let Norse Loy start this
sure.
time
Okay.
around. Yeah.
But I wanted to give him the floor. All right. What the government actually kind of subsidize family planning methods.
Okay.
So yes, to the best they can do for the patients to afford them. But there are some methods that are quite expensive more than others. Like the surgical methods and the implants, they are more expensive than the oral contraceptive and then the barrier methods like condoms and diaphragms. So yeah, the governments do their best, but then I mean we are in Africa and you know what's obtainable. Sometimes
All right.
corruption too gets in the way and all of those stuff. So yeah.
Wow. Okay. Dr. Garo, faith,
Okay.
religious, and economic influence in the
Okay.
choice.
Yeah, sure. So this is a packed question. So let me try to approach it from two dimensions: the economic dimension, then the social and religious dimension. So we know that family planning has a bit of complexity in terms of how it is positioned within the broader public health issue. One of the big issues that we have with advocating for family planning within the global health space is the fact that family planning is not seen as a disease, right? See, it's not like malaria where someone, if you don't treat it, person may potentially die, or like COVID, or like other. It's a lifestyle program, right? But that
Yeah.
lifestyle program has a huge potential of contributing significantly to reducing other issues. For example, there's evidence to suggest that every $1 spent on family planning can potentially lead to reducing $3 worth of expense related to maternal and child morbidity,
Yeah.
right? For every $1 that you spend on family planning, it will
Yeah.
potentially reduce the likelihood of having a maternal or child morbidity up to $3. That's three times more. And in fact, if you want to link it to economic benefits, there's also research to suggest that every $1 that is spent on family planning can actually contribute as much as $120 worth of economic value in terms of ensuring that women are able to pursue they pursue their economic potential because they are not weighed down by taking care of children. Girls can stay in school and other things. So there is a huge economic potential, but the problem that we have is the government may not necessarily prioritize it because it's not an epidemic in quotes, right? So
Yeah.
that is looking at the government side of things. Now on the demand side of things, on the client side of things, um, many contraceptives are still a bit pricey when you look at it properly, right? Different depending on the method, it's still very pricey. And that is why, in many countries, contraceptive is provided as a free commodity within the public health system, right, by government. And a lot of these free commodities are subsidized, by donor funds. We all know of the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, who is the global UN body that champions access to contraceptives. And we have other organizations that support that global movement, contributing both money, contributing commodities, contributing
Tips.
expertise, and all of that. So, if not for these investments that go into making sure contraceptives are available for free, it would be almost difficult or almost prohibitive for the common person to have access to contraceptives. So what I always say is that if you walk into a public facility and you see contraceptives and it's free, it is a blessing. So take advantage of it. So we take a lot of these things for granted, right?
Yeah.
I have the privilege of being married, and at some point we had to make a choice of contraception, and going to a private facility and find out how much each of these things cost. It is very expensive,
Very expensive.
very, very expensive. So when you see it available in a public facility, I tell people it's such a blessing, right? And I say that to say a lot of investment has gone into reducing the financial barrier to access contraceptives, and I really wish that people will take advantage of it, because we don't know for how long it will continue to remain like that. There's a lot of discussion now about making contraceptive. I mean, many governments are saying contraception is a lifestyle choice, so why should people should pay for it, or at least they should pay certain things. So we don't know what direction it's going. So while it's still available free, I encourage people to take it. So those some of these interventions have helped in lowering the financial burden, especially for those that are not so economically empowered. Now let's go to the social dimension, right? We also know that we live in societies where decisions are hugely influenced by our community, our environment. For some, major family decisions are influenced by religion. um, if you want to know how the power of religion, you should look at some of these religious activities and see the thousands of people that fill out stadiums. That's the
Sure.
power. That's the power that religion has. So imagine that in one of those stadiums, right, or this still stadia filled with people, there is a simple sentence that says you should go for family planning. You can imagine how powerful that statement would
So
be because
that's
we're going to be talking. So people respect religious leaders.
like,
And so we also know that religion also has its biases. A lot of interventions have been deployed to address some of those religious biases. And if I connect back to what Lois mentioned about some of the myths and misconceptions about, oh, God provides, God takes care of. There
Yeah.
are also religious perspectives in our holy books that say that it is a responsibility for every family to take care of whoever they bring.
yeah,
So we need to
very,
have a balanced perspective to say it's not just God provides, then God should take care of. There's also a mandate, and it's in the Holy Book, the Holy Quran, and it's also even in the Bible that we have a responsibility. The children are gifts, and we have a responsibility to nurture them and give them the best that we can have. So if we are bringing in children that we cannot take care of, we are actually in defiance, right, to God's laws and His principles. So what we have done in the past is we've tried to engage a lot of these religious groups for them to sort of understand this perspective and educate their followers about the importance of family planning. And it's not about the devices. It's not about contraceptives. It's about the philosophy of family planning, right? So whether they choose to
yeah,
use a natural method or choose to use a non-medical method, we want people to have that conversation and be intentional about their decision to have children when they want to have them and the number that they choose to have them. That
just
is the time the
So,
religious dimension. Then lastly, my last point before I stop is that we also live in a very closely knitted society, especially in Africa, where there's a lot of respect for mother-in-laws, there's a lot of respect for sisters, there's
yeah.
a lot of respect for so these people are very powerful in influencing contraceptive choices, right? So what we're also doing is ensuring that these influencers, community influencers, even community leaders, right? Community, what we call community gatekeepers, right?
yeah,
We call it your community heads or your village head or your family head. They have all kinds of names in Africa, right? Those people can actually influence a great deal decisions around family planning. So ensuring that they have the right information so that when they're influencing right, and they're influencing people to actually go to facilities where family planning is provided and seek care is also very key in ensuring that people have access to family planning. So I feel that family planning is one of the hidden potentials that have not been fully tapped into. Apart from the medical health related benefits, it has a huge economic benefit. And in any case, people, it's not just for families or for married people. People want to enjoy life. Why don't they do so with peace of mind, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes we think that sex is only for married people, right? But there are young people out there that they want to do what they want to do. Well, can we help them do what they want to do, but do it safely? And we are not dealing with issues of abortion and all of those things. So that's how powerful family planning can be if it's accessible to everyone, young, old, single, married. It really doesn't matter what your sexual orientation is. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm not so sure if Lois wants to add to this, but we've got a comment here that I've left hanging for a while now. But I want us to address this comment before we go on to the last phase of today's show. And that comment is from Timmy Tucker. She says, "Does contraception mess up hormonal system, thereby causing delays in menstruation?" And there's a writer to this. And also, does contraception suppress the production of eggs? Who's going to go with this first? Nurse Lois, you want
okay,
to?
sure.
Yeah, you can go ahead and address this.
All right, okay. So we actually talked about some of these contraceptives being able containing hormones, yeah. So what they do is actually they suppress the hormone responsible for ovulation and the ones that are responsible for conception. So if they suppress the hormones responsible for ovulation, eggs will not be released. That's the logic. So if eggs is not released, fertilization in a sense cannot take place because fertilization has to do with a sperm and an egg, right? Or eggs. So what they do is to suppress hormones and also prevent the release of eggs as the case may be. Well, the ones that are like barrier method don't do that. Like the condoms, they don't do that. So what they just do, as the name implies, is barrier prevent the sperm from getting to the vagina and cervix, then to the uterus for fertilization. But the word messes, I will not say it messes up your hormone because the word messes up hormone is more like saying your hormones are everywhere and then your body can start reacting in a way that's not cool. So messes up hormone is not the right word. I'll address it as rather it regulates hormone system. So yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Nurse Lois. And I do want to believe that the specific contraceptive method she's referring to here are the pills, the drugs. So while I was deep in the practice, I did have a number of
So sorry, I
ladies
would like to add.
approach me.
I would
Just
like
a
to add
minute.
something.
Yeah, approach me and say
Sorry.
their system are messed up because of this, and it's the hormones are just all over the place. So I can relate very well to the question she's asking. Yeah, you wanted to say something, Lois?
So yeah, I would like to say something like for the oral contraceptive pills, yeah, and the transdermal patch that they use. There's actually a duration you get to take it to like 3 weeks, and then it allows you for menstruation for the last week, which is like 3 weeks. You are taking the pills. Then for the fourth week, it allows menstruation to take place. So yes, you can still be on the pills and then menstruate. That's after 3 weeks. Then you give time for 1 week to allow menstruation to occur. So I would just like to add that just in case.
All right, okay,
Can I
good.
just add? Can I just add that?
Absolutely, please
Yeah.
drop in.
So the whole field of contraception has, received a ton of investment in terms of research and development. And so for every drug or for every device to be available in the market for public access, several clinical trials have been conducted to test not just the efficacy but the safety, you know. Um, so I think it's really important that we put this out there so that people don't have the assumption that every contraceptive that you take has a way of messing your hormones. In some contraceptives don't even have any business with your hormones, right? So they
Your
work at different
hormones.
parts. Some is the part of production, some is a part of fertilization, some is a part of implantation. So they work at different places. And in many, when I interact with clients, and of course, in the course of programming, for groups that are concerned about hormones, they are non-hormonal contraceptives, especially the copper IUD.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
non-hormonal. There's no hormone in it. What it just simply does, the copper is just a stimulant. It's a uterine stimulant and makes the wall of the uterus uncomfortable for any eggs to implant. So it doesn't touch your hormones. And there are many other types of contraceptives. But let's also mention that there are people that also take contraceptives for the hormonal benefits. For example,
Exactly.
research shows that some contraceptives have been very useful in managing postmenopausal syndrome,
Yeah,
you know, for postmenopausal women. So you see that for a postmenopausal woman, why would you think that they want to use contraception? Because they are done with, right? They are at their menopause. They are not, but they use it because it helps to regulate their hormones. So what
Yeah.
you're thinking that is a bad thing is now a good thing, right? So
For
that's why
someone else.
it's really important to talk to a trained provider within a proper facility where a thorough evaluation is done to determine what your specific need is and ensure that you have the method or the technology that addresses those needs. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's correct. And I think this tracks us back down to where we talked about customization and unique interventions for each individual. I mean, if you're someone
Yeah.
who without contraceptives, your hormones is just all over the place, uh, perhaps naturally, then there's some kind of contraceptives or some kind of pills that will not be good for you. So it's always best to get something that is tailored to your system uniquely and that will work best for you. I know I know a lot of comments and questions to attend to, but we also have to look at our time, and we've gone past the hour mark by 20 minutes. So this might be a good time to round up today's broadcast, so that we can get on some other things. And you know what? Who says a part two cannot happen? We can have a second part to
Yeah.
this where we'll,
Yeah.
discuss some other of the concepts that we've not touched. I've got a number of questions here that I would love to ask, for us to generate new knowledge, but we can't do that because we've got very busy hosts who have to go out and do some other things and make the weekend happen for themselves. So we'll put a pause to this, and I'll see how we can have a sequel to today's broadcast. But I want to say it's been an absolute pleasure having Dr. Igharo and Nurse Lois here today. And before they give their parting shot, I don't know if Valerie is Enor here? Okay, no, Valerie. Do you have something to say? Are you there, Valerie? You can come on stage, and we'd like to get a feedback from you before we'll get our parting shots from our distinguished guest today, and then we'll close the show.
Uh,
Hi, Valerie.
Hi.
Hi,
Not
Valerie.
much to say. Thank you. Hi. Oh my goodness, I have learned a lot. And for me, that's interesting because I am somebody who thought I knew. You know, when you think you know something, and I mean, it's contraception. I've been here for a long time, I've used different methods. But actually, listening to you, I've learned quite a bit. And I think the most important points I've learned is it's not a one size fits all for everybody. It's important to understand your own body and what's happening there to choose the right method. But also understanding that how we communicate with young people about contraception and what they face in that space when they're looking for support is important, because that's where a barrier can come up. And that's something that can easily be looked into and overcome. So, just a very big thank you to you, Nurse Lois and Dr. Victor, for jumping in and sharing all that information. It's very appreciated. Mm.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you so much, Valerie. So, any parting shots from you, our host, our distinguished host, Dr. Victor Igharo? Any parting words for esteemed viewers?
Yeah, my parting word is we need to demystify the whole conversation about contraception. It's a human right. It's a fundamental human right for that matter.
Wonderful.
We need to stop treating issue of contraception with all of the with gloves on and ensure that everybody has access to it, whether we like it or not. People are having sex, and we want to be sure that babies that are made are babies that are wanted. Yeah, so that's my parting shot.
Thank you so much, Nurse Lois. Any
Okay.
parting words for us today?
Yeah, I would like to say, now that you know, I want to believe now you know. So make do with knowledge you've had here and take advantage of the service of family planning while you can. So yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you to our esteemed viewers watching us, listening to us from wherever you are. Thank you for joining us today. Uh, we don't stop here. Every weekend, we have something unique and exceptionally juicy for you all to join us and tap from. So make sure you follow the page and keep your fingers crossed for the next topic we have to discuss. And to our distinguished guest today. Thank you so much, Emilian. Thanks for availing us this time that you've given to us to share your knowledge with us. It's been of immense benefit, not just to us here, but everybody everywhere that is particularly interested in this topic. Thank you so much, and I hope you have yourself a beautiful weekend ahead and a lovely career going forward. Thank you so much, and bye
Thank you.
once again.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.